And he said, Kirk, we need to do a movie about this. We need everyone to take this journey that you're taking, and you need to go deeper. You need to really understand the Pilgrims by going across the ocean to England when they were called separatists and figure out why they came here in the first place. And so we did that and documented the whole thing. I went to England and I retraced the escape route of the Pilgrims and went to the dungeons in the castles that they were thrown into, and the underground meeting places and the little churches where they heard the Word of God and the people were lit on fire by the Holy Spirit, and their escape routes to Holland. And then how they got in a ship that leaked trying to come across the Atlantic, and they finally got on a wine ship called the Mayflower and made it over here against all odds and did the unthinkable. And they built the freest, richest, most prosperous nation and laid down its foundations and its principles for that nation to be built. And I've discovered that the treasure of America was not in chests made of wood. It was in the chests of men and women. It was the ideas in their hearts and in their minds. It was the truth of God and His Word. Their love for Jesus Christ and the belief that if they took God's Word and used it as a blueprint, they could build a nation where men and women and children would be free. Free to love God and free to reach the world for Christ. And all of these principles, to my amazement, were encapsulated and immortalized in one monument that is sitting on top of a hill in Plymouth, Massachusetts, hidden in a residential area behind a forest of trees. Most people have never heard of it, let alone seen it. It's called the Monument to the Forefathers, and you have a picture of it on your brochure. I want to ask you to please look at this brochure and look at this monument. It's treated like the ugly stepsister of American monuments. No one keeps the grass fertilized. There's no lights to light it up at night and keep it looking pretty. There's graffiti there. Some of the fingers are crumbling. Yet I think it's the most important monument in our nation. You've got to see it because it lays out the forefathers' strategy for our nation. I was shocked that it was still there. I figured that the ACLU or someone would have removed it by now, because it is just so clearly biblical in its presentation. We have a slide of the monument I want you to look at. This is, I can't see the screen from here, but the monument is the largest granite monument in the United States. And you and I haven't heard of it? This is amazing. And her name is Faith. And she stands 81 feet tall. Marshall, is that how tall it is? 81 feet tall. From bottom to top. And her finger is pointing toward heaven. And I think the best way to understand this is if you look at the four small statues underneath her. And the final one on your brochure, it's to your left here. It's a man in a helmet. And he is the Liberty Man. I think we have a slide of Liberty Man right here. This guy is my hero. Here's who he is. He is a man who is sitting under his own vine and fig tree. He's at peace. He's prosperous. And he's vigilant. He has defeated tyranny and oppression. He's a hero. And he's a hero because he was willing to pay a price. And you cannot be a hero and a liberty man or a liberty woman unless you're willing to go through the refining process and the training strategy that's found in this monument. And it begins with faith. This was the Pilgrim's idea, that you start with faith. She has got a finger pointed to heaven. She's holding a Geneva Bible in her left hand, which is the Bible that the Pilgrims came across the ocean with on the boat. Her foot is on Plymouth Rock. This is a public monument. And that faith would express itself through one of the smaller statues beneath her, called morality. And first and foremost, the Pilgrims believed that faith in God, the God of the Bible specifically, would transform the inner character of a man or a woman. That was essential. And then because of a renewed heart and mind, by the way, she's holding the 10 Commandments and the scroll of Revelation. With this renewed heart and mind, because of her faith in God, the Pilgrims would then produce laws that were based on biblical principles to protect and govern the people. And it was just and proper laws with a balance of justice and mercy as prescribed in God's Word. And then that faith that created this inner character and was protected by just and godly laws were then taught to children of the next generation. And the third small statue there is education. And there is a mom teaching her children these things. And an older man who's got a globe to his right and a Bible on his left, because the Pilgrims believed that you used your mind and reason from the Scriptures, applying it to the world and every aspect of your life. This was our forefathers' concept of how you build a nation, and that these things would lead to liberty. And you have Liberty Man seated on his chair with his sword put back in his sheath. He is now at peace. He's defeated the lion of tyranny. It has been slain and skinned, and the hide rests across his shoulders. There's a small image on the side that he is still holding down tyranny with his boot on the neck of the lion of tyranny. And his wife is over here, and she's prosperous. There's a plentiful bounty of food, and there is an olive branch there, and she is at peace. It's an amazing, amazing monument. And that's what we need today. If we want to get back to those kinds of ideas, we need you and me to be liberty men and liberty women who are willing to pay the price for the sake of our children's future. I was taught many different things about why the Pilgrims came to America. They were coming for land, they were coming for opportunity. And while some did come for those things, if you want to know about the Pilgrims, listen to the words of the governor of the Pilgrims, William Bradford himself. He said this in his personal journal. They came to lay a good foundation, or at least of making some way towards it, for the propagation and advance of the gospel of the kingdom of Christ to the remote parts of the world, even though they should be but stepping stones to others in the performance of so great a work. In other words, he was saying that they were willing to come here in order to advance the gospel of the kingdom of Christ. And if they couldn't do it themselves, they were willing to lay their faces down in the mud and have their children use them as stepping stones so that they could finish the work. They were willing to sacrifice their lives for their children and their children's children. And I am so encouraged because today I see this becoming a reality. You, all of us, are the stepping stones that Bradford talked about. He knew this wasn't going to happen overnight. And together we can create a path that will lead our children and our nation back to the faith and the proven strategy of our forefathers. And so I want to thank all of you for coming here this morning, being a part of this prayer breakfast. It's people like you who truly are the future of America. And there's never been a more important time in history for you and I to get out of the stands and get into the arena and fight for what we believe in. And I believe that we are